My sister handed me a tissue at her engagement party and said, "Clean yourself up before you embarrass us in the photos." The whole family laughed. What they didn't know was that I'd already booked the floating chapel off Chesapeake Bay. Hi, I'm Eleanor, 34 years old, and I've spent most of my life being the family disappointment. While my sister Sophia planned her dream wedding with our parents' unlimited checkbook, I worked double shifts as a marine biologist, saving every penny and sleeping in a studio apartment that smelled like low tide. I wasn't glamorous or connected like Sophia. She had the sorority sisters, the country club membership, the fiancé whose family owned half the city's real estate. I had research grants, waterproof notebooks, and a passion for coral reef restoration that nobody understood. But here's what they never bothered to learn about me. I had something they couldn't buy with Daddy's money patience vision and a network of marine conservationists who valued substance over surface. If you've ever been the forgotten sibling in a family of golden children, drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. I read every single one, and your stories remind me that we're stronger than they think. The thing about being underestimated is that it gives you incredible freedom to plan. And while Sophia spent 18 months obsessing over centerpieces and invitation fonts, I was quietly orchestrating something that would change everything. The real betrayal happened 3 months before Sophia's wedding. I'd been dating Nathan, a fellow marine researcher, for 2 years. We kept it quiet because my family had a way of ruining things I cared about. Sophia's engagement party was at the yacht club. Naturally, I wore my best dress, actually tried with my hair, hoping maybe this time I could just blend in without drama. "Eleanor's here," Sophia announced when I walked in, her voice dripping with fake enthusiasm. "Everyone look, my sister actually owns something besides those terrible field boots." The crowd of her sorority friends giggled. I forced a smile and headed for the gift table. That's when I overheard Sophia talking to our cousin Abigail by the champagne fountain. "Oh God, you should see the guy Eleanor's been hiding," Sophia said, scrolling through her phone. "I found his social media. He's cute, but he drives this beat-up truck and lives in some tiny apartment near the docks. Can you imagine?" "Wait, is that the marine biologist she mentioned?" Abigail asked. "Yeah, and get this. I'm thinking of inviting him to my wedding. Not for Eleanor's sake, obviously, but Nathan seems interesting. Outdoorsy and single guys always make weddings more fun." My blood went cold. Sophia didn't know Nathan and I were together. To her, he was just some random guy she'd stalked online. "You're not serious." Abigail laughed. "Dead serious. I've already sent him a DM. Told him I'm Eleanor's sister and would love to meet him. He seems sweet, probably hasn't met many women like me." I stood there frozen, clutching my purse as Sophia continued detailing her plan to introduce herself to my boyfriend at her own wedding. She talked about him like he was a party favor she could claim. The worst part, when I finally approached them, Sophia just smiled and handed me that tissue. "Clean yourself up before you embarrass us in the photos," she said, not even pausing her conversation with Abigail. Our parents came over then, both beaming at Sophia like she'd just discovered the cure for cancer. "Isn't she glowing?" Mom gushed. "The wedding is going to be absolutely perfect. 300 guests live orchestra-imported flowers." Dad nodded proudly. "Worth every penny. Our little princess deserves the best." I stood there invisible, listening to them plan Sophia's perfect day while she plotted to steal my boyfriend. That's when I knew I was done being the family afterthought. I walked out of that party with a smile on my face and revenge in my heart. The first escalation happened 2 weeks later. Sophia had indeed contacted Nathan, and he told me immediately. She'd invited him to lunch, claiming she wanted to get to know Eleanor's friends better before the wedding. Nathan thought it was sweet. I knew better. She spent the whole time asking about my work. Nathan told me that evening, but weird questions, like how much marine biologists make, whether I own property, if I have family money. She seemed disappointed when I said I rent. I wasn't surprised. Sophia had a pattern of evaluating people like livestock at auction. The second betrayal came when I tried to bring Nathan as my +1 to the wedding. Sophia's response was swift and brutal. "Eleanor, honey," she said over the phone. I already invited Nathan separately. "He's such a catch. I don't want him feeling obligated to babysit you all night. He can actually meet some eligible women at my wedding. Wouldn't that be nice for him?" "Sophia, Nathan is my boyfriend." "Your boyfriend?" She laughed. Actually laughed. Eleanor, come on. You've been single for 3 years. Don't make up stories because you're embarrassed about not having a date. We've been together for 2 years, right? And I'm dating Brad Pitt. She hung up. That's when I realized she genuinely couldn't conceive that someone like Nathan would choose me over her. In Sophia's world, attractive, successful men were automatically hers to distribute. The third betrayal was the cruelest. A week before the wedding, Sophia called a family meeting. I need to discuss Eleanor's situation, she announced, perched on Mom's white leather sofa like a queen addressing peasants. What situation, Dad asked. Her delusions about Nathan. She's been telling people he's her boyfriend, and it's getting embarrassing. What if she makes a scene at my wedding? I stared at her. You want to tell them, or should I? Tell us what Mom asked, looking between us. Sophia smiled sweetly. Eleanor's been fantasizing about this marine biologist I invited to the wedding. She thinks they're dating, but he told me himself that they're just colleagues. She's confused. I have pictures of us together, I said quietly. Friend pictures. Sophia dismissed. Eleanor, it's okay to have crushes, but you can't go around claiming men are your boyfriends just because they're nice to you. Our parents exchanged concerned looks. They'd watched me struggle with dating for years, and Sophia's version sounded plausible to them. Sweetheart, Mom said gently. Maybe you should talk to someone about this. These kinds of misunderstandings can be harmful. I felt like I was drowning. My own family thought I was delusional. Nathan and I have been living together for 6 months, I said. Sophia's eyes widened for just a second before she recovered. Living together, Eleanor. He told me he lives alone near the marina. Why would you say that? Because it was true. Nathan had been staying at my place more and more, and we just started talking about making it official. But I realized Sophia had been pumping him for information during their lunch, and she twisted everything to fit her narrative. You know what, I stood up. Believe whatever you want, but Nathan is coming to the wedding as my date, whether you like it or not. Actually, Sophia said, pulling out her phone. I already seated him at the singles table with my college friends. They're all so excited to meet him. That night, I sat in my tiny apartment staring at the walls. My family thought I was a delusional loser. My sister was actively trying to steal my boyfriend. And in 5 days, I'd have to watch her parade around in a dress that cost more than my annual salary, while treating Nathan like her personal entertainment. But as I sat there feeling sorry for myself, I remembered something. 3 months ago, I'd received an email that changed everything. The Atlantic Research Foundation had approved my grant proposal for the Coral Restoration Project. Full funding, 3-year commitment, and they wanted to film a documentary about it. I'd been so focused on Sophia's drama that I'd barely processed it. But suddenly, I realized I had options Sophia couldn't even imagine. I opened my laptop and started making calls. What Sophia didn't know, what none of them knew, was that my worthless career had just taken a massive leap forward. The email from Dr. Elizabeth Carter at the Atlantic Research Foundation sat in my inbox like a hidden treasure. Congratulations, Eleanor. Your coral restoration proposal has been selected for full funding, $2.3 million over 3 years. We'd also like to discuss the documentary opportunity and the possibility of establishing a permanent research station. I'd been so stunned when it arrived that I'd barely told Nathan, let alone my family. After years of scraping by on small grants and temporary positions, I was about to become the lead researcher on one of the most ambitious marine conservation projects in the Atlantic. But there was more they didn't know. Dr. Carter's foundation had connections I'd never dreamed of. Tech billionaires who funded ocean conservation, Hollywood producers who wanted to film the documentary, even a luxury yacht manufacturer who specialized in research vessels. We're thinking of something unprecedented, Dr. Carter had said during our video call, a floating research facility that doubles as an event space. Donors love being part of the mission, and what better way to showcase ocean conservation than letting them experience it firsthand? They wanted to launch the project with a media event, something that would generate buzz and attract more funding. Dr. Carter had suggested a symbolic ceremony, maybe a dedication or ribbon cutting. That's when the idea hit me. What about a wedding, I'd suggested? Nothing says new beginnings like a couple committing to each other while supporting marine conservation. Dr. Carter had loved it. Brilliant. We could film it for the documentary. Show how science and life intersect. Do you know anyone who might be interested? I'd smiled for the first time in weeks. Actually, I might have the perfect couple. Nathan didn't know about the grant yet. I wanted to surprise him. And honestly, I wasn't sure I believed it myself. But as Sophia's wedding approached and her cruelty escalated, I started planning something that would show my family exactly who they'd been underestimating. They thought I was the failure, the embarrassment, the sister who couldn't even get a real boyfriend. They had no idea I was about to become the most celebrated marine biologist of my generation. 3 days before Sophia's wedding, I finally told Nathan everything about the grant, the documentary, the yacht, and about Sophia's plan to steal him away from me. She what? Nathan stared at me across our tiny kitchen table. Eleanor, why didn't you tell me sooner? Because I wanted to see how far she'd go, I admitted, and because I needed time to plan something bigger. I showed him Dr. Carter's emails, the grant paperwork, the yacht specifications. His eyes got wider with each document. You're telling me we could get married on a research vessel in front of cameras, and it would launch your career. Our careers, I corrected. They want you as the marine ecosystem specialist. It's all in the contract. Nathan was quiet for a long moment. Then he started laughing. Your sister has no idea, does she? None of them do. That's when he pulled out his phone. Sophia's been texting me constantly. Look at this. The messages were painful to read. Sophia flirting shamelessly, asking about his plans after her wedding, suggesting they explore their connection since I was just a friend anyway. She actually thinks I'd believe that Nathan shook his head. Eleanor, she told me you've been delusional about our relationship. She said your parents are worried about your mental health. The betrayal stung, but it also hardened my resolve. There's something else I said, pulling up the documentary producer's email. They want to film our ceremony, livestream it to marine biology conferences worldwide. Dr. Carter thinks it could be the kickoff event for a whole series about ocean conservation. Nathan grinned. So while your sister's having her fancy country club wedding, we'll be getting married on a yacht surrounded by marine biologists and documentary cameras with full media coverage. I nodded. The ceremony is scheduled for Saturday afternoon, same day as Sophia's wedding, but will be done by the time hers starts. And your family will see it. Everyone will see it. It's going live on the National Geographic website. Nathan leaned back in his chair, processing everything. Your sister's going to lose her mind, probably, and your parents will realize they've been wrong about everything. Definitely. And I get to marry the most brilliant woman I know while launching both our careers. I felt tears prick my eyes. After weeks of being told I was delusional, having Nathan believe in me felt like oxygen. If you want to, I whispered. He reached across the table and took my hands. Eleanor, I've been ready to marry you since our first research dive together. I was just waiting for you to feel ready. That night, while Sophia finalized her seating charts and argued with the florist about rose varieties, Nathan and I sent our wedding invitations not to family. They'd already made their choice. We invited our research colleagues, conservation donors, and documentary crew. The yacht was booked, the cameras were scheduled, and Sophia had no idea what was coming. Saturday morning arrived with perfect weather. While Sophia fussed over her hair and makeup at the country club, I stood on the deck of the Coral Crest, a 200-foot research yacht anchored in the crystal blue waters off Chesapeake Bay. Dr. Carter had outdone herself. The yacht was stunning, gleaming white with panoramic viewing decks, a helicopter landing pad that had been transformed into a ceremony space, and underwater viewing chambers, where guests could watch marine life during the reception. 30 minutes until we go live, the documentary producer announced. Dr. Eleanor Thompson. You ready for this? I smoothed my simple white dress. Nothing fancy, just elegant and appropriate for an ocean ceremony. Ready Nathan looked incredible in his navy suit, and more importantly, he looked happy. None of the stress and anxiety I'd been carrying for months. The guest list was small but impressive, leading marine biologists, conservation donors, and a handful of celebrities who supported ocean research. Dr. Carter had even arranged for the ceremony to be officiated by Captain Laura Bennett, a legendary ocean explorer. At exactly 2 p.m., we went live. The ceremony was beautiful. Captain Bennett spoke about the ocean as a symbol of endless possibility, about two people choosing to explore life's depths together. When Nathan and I exchanged vows, I could see dolphins breaching in the distance behind him. I promise to love you as deeply as the ocean, I said, and to support your dreams as faithfully as the tides. The guests were crying. The cameras captured everything, and somewhere out there I knew the live stream was reaching thousands of viewers worldwide. After we kissed and were pronounced married, Dr. Carter took the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, what you've just witnessed is more than a wedding. Dr. Eleanor Thompson Coleman and Dr. Nathan Coleman are about to embark on the most ambitious coral restoration project in marine biology history. This yacht will be their floating laboratory for the next 3 years, and we will be documenting their groundbreaking work. She gestured to the massive check display behind her. $3 million in funding, courtesy of the Atlantic Research Foundation, and our generous donors present here today. The applause was deafening. The real moment came during the reception when my phone started buzzing. Text after text, call after call, Sophia's wedding guests had seen the live stream. Word was spreading through social media. My parents called first. Eleanor, honey, we're watching the National Geographic stream. Are you really getting married on a yacht with all these famous people? I could hear Sophia's voice in the background, shrill and panicked. Yes, Mom. This is my husband, Nathan, and this is my career, the one you thought was worthless. But sweetheart, we had no idea because you never asked. You never wanted to know about my work or my life. You just assumed I was the failure. Sophia grabbed the phone. Eleanor, you can't do this. It's my wedding day. You're stealing my thunder. I looked around at my new colleagues, at Nathan beaming beside me, at the ocean stretching endlessly in every direction. Sophia, your wedding doesn't start for 4 hours. I'm not stealing anything. I'm just living my life. But people are talking about your wedding instead of mine. My guests are all watching your stupid live stream. Maybe they're just interested in actual achievement instead of expensive party planning. The line went quiet. Then Sophia's voice came back smaller and desperate. Eleanor, please, can you ask them to take down the stream? Just for today, I'll do anything. It was the first time in my life I'd heard Sophia beg for something from me. No, Sophia, the stream stays up. The documentary continues. And Nathan and I are going to spend our honeymoon doing marine research in some of the most beautiful waters on Earth. I hung up and turned off my phone. For the first time in 34 years, my family's opinion didn't matter at all. Nathan and I spent our honeymoon anchored off the coast of Key West, collecting water samples and mapping coral formations. The documentary crew captured everything, and the footage was already generating buzz in the scientific community. Dr. Carter called it the perfect marriage of science and storytelling. The calls from my family continued for weeks, 100 missed calls just like the title promised. Voicemails ranging from angry to pleading to confused. Sophia's wedding had apparently been overshadowed by guests scrolling through our live stream instead of paying attention to her vows. I didn't answer any of them. 3 months later, when our first research findings made the cover of Marine Biology Today, I finally called my parents back. We're proud of you, Dad said quietly. We should have paid attention sooner. It was something I supposed. But as I stood on the deck of our floating laboratory watching dolphins play in our wake, I realized I didn't need their approval anymore. I had built something beautiful without them. If you've ever been underestimated by your own family, I want to hear your story. Drop a comment below and tell me where you're watching from. I read every single one. Sometimes the best revenge isn't loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's just becoming so successful that their opinion stops mattering. Hit that subscribe button if this story resonated with you. And remember, you never know what someone's capable of until you give them a reason to prove you wrong. What would you have done in my situation? Let me know in the comments below. Eleanor's story teaches us the power of resilience and self-belief in the face of underestimation. When her family dismissed her dreams and belittled her achievements, she didn't let their judgment define her worth. Instead, she channeled her energy into her passion for marine biology, turning betrayal into motivation. The lesson here is clear external validation, especially from those who fail to see your value, is not a measure of your potential. Eleanor's quiet determination and strategic planning allowed her to seize an extraordinary opportunity, proving that success is the best response to doubt. Her triumph wasn't about revenge in a petty sense, but about living authentically and excelling in her truth. This reminds us to stay focused on our goals even when others try to undermine us, and to surround ourselves with those who uplift our ambitions. Sometimes the greatest victories come not from proving others wrong, but from proving yourself right. Eleanor's journey encourages us to embrace our unique strengths, trust our vision, and let our achievements speak louder than any critic's voice. Keep pushing forward, and your success will redefine the narrative others try to impose on you.